Hello, everybody. For anybody who didn't see my summary in front of Church on the Hill, this is for you. And also, if you, for some reason, wanted to review it or see it again, I also plan to make videos going into more detail, one for each of the places that I spent a long period of time in. So, to summarize quickly and to show you where things are, I spent 4 months initially in Madang, which is in the eye, and I was with a group from Kona, Hawaii during that time. After that, I returned home and came back to Port Moresby, which is the only city with an international airport. I stayed there with the ship for 14 months, and then during my last 2 months in Papua New Guinea, I went back to Madang for 1 month, and then up to Mount Hagen for 1 month. Mount Hagen being positioned deep in the highlands. So I was in Madang for 4 months to begin with a team that did pretty ordinary missionary work, speaking and preaching and uh, doing kids ministry and assisting some with the medical team. Here we can see a marketplace in Madang. There was a convenient square platform of concrete that we got up on and did some skits and did some preaching, and we got to visit quite a few different locations along the North Coast Highway while I was there. The most normal course of action would be to go out, do ministry for a few hours, do a service at night, then sleep in the village, and then the next morning do some kids ministry, and finally head back around the noon or early afternoon. Of course, sometimes we did get left there. The the bus may not show up on time all the time. And after I had been in Madang for some time, I actually got uh, my grandmother died suddenly, and I returned back home for her funeral. Well, suddenly, I'd say. Uh, wasn't that sudden, but I was glad to be back and to see everybody. And it was a good service, good memorial service, and it was a real blessing to see everybody during that time. Um, but when I came back to Papua New Guinea, the ship was in the same city that the international airport is in. That's the city of Port Moresby. And so while I was on board the ship, I did several different things. I did maintenance for a while. I did night watch for several months. And for my last few months, I did administration, and that was quite challenging. So that is a video of the full length of the ship that I was on while it was out of dry dock, or out in dry dock, out of the sea in dry dock. Um, for most of the time that I was on it, it was in and out of dry dock. It would be in dry dock, and then for a while we were out anchored in the ocean, and then eventually we were able to get back into dry dock and work on it. This was one of the many instances of improvisation. We somehow the hose feeding seawater up to the toilets to use for flushing was not connected. So we used this large tank. We ran a hose to it, filled it up with water, and then stuck and then stuck the hose that went up to the toilets down into it. So we just refill it every few hours so that we could always have water going to the toilets. We've got a rather blurry picture of the dock at night. This was actually, we were in the ocean, but we were temporarily docked against one of these long gangways. There's me. You can see kind of, you can sort of see the size of the ship, though I think I'm a little closer to the camera, so it's not a perfectly accurate representation. Yeah, you got little portholes. That is the kitchen, I'm pretty sure. And then up here would be a couple of rooms. Here you can see the full length of it. That is after it has been repainted. So we've got a nice clean coat of white and red paint uh, for our ambulance colors. And then finally, after being on board the ship for 14 months, during that time, I did not, I returned home for 2 weeks, and then I had a 2 week vacation in Japan. Um, and after doing administration for my last few months, I thought that it would be good to do something else for my last few months that I had scheduled in Papua New Guinea. So I went to shore. I spent a month in Madang and a month in Mount Hagen. While I was in Madang, I did get to go back out to do some missionary work in the villages. This was a group that was visiting a student group, the same that was just like the one I was with whenever I first started out. Um, they're doing some preaching in the village, and I got to help out occasionally or do some kids ministry. And I spent a lot of time on the base tutoring some of the kids of uh, that were part of a mission family that lived on base. That was good. And these are from the Highlands. I'll go into more detail in my video about the Highlands, but this on the left here is the Thanksgiving feast. Now, it's not Thanksgiving the day, the holiday that we think of. It's a around that time, but it's these two tribes in the area had formed a peace agreement, and this Thanksgiving celebration, this Thanksgiving service, is held every year to commemorate that. This on the right is the view out of the base at Mount Hagen, which is actually a little ways out of the city on the hillside, the mountainside, and you can see at a distance smoke and a few white dots of buildings. But we are out a little ways with a beautiful view. Well, and that's the end of it. That was my quick summary. I'll put this out. Now that I've got a little bit of a faster system, I'll go ahead and put out some of the videos about my individual experiences and sort of what I've learned. I'll put those out shortly. Thank you for watching or listening, and uh, thank you so much for your support throughout this whole time.